Oh, that's certainly a very great way to close off this webinar series. That was Refiloe Jane. She is the Banyana Banyana captain, and she actually started playing from the very tender age of 6 years old. She was born back in August in 1992. Just a very short bio on her to give you context of the amazing things that she's achieved in her very short life already. She's represented South Africa in the 2012 Olympics, and she received her first contract with Canberra in Australia. Now, that was for the 2018 and 2019 season. She took part in WAFCON. This was in 2018. She was in the World Cup in France in 2019. And in the very same year, she also became, or Nike became her sponsor in 2019. Then she signed with AC Milan. This was for the 2019 to the 2021 period. And she's also currently still signed with another Italian football club. Just in terms of some of the other things that she's been able to achieve, she's played in two Olympic Games. She's won two Women's Africa Cup of Nations medals, and she's actually scored twice in the finals of the COSAFA Cup. And I think what's also great is that she's makes up a very small number of Banyana Banyana players to actually get or reach 100 caps. So I can definitely say I was super excited to speak to her. I had the opportunity to catch up with her earlier on this week. Let's have a look at that conversation. Refiloe, thank you so much for making the time to join us today. We are super excited to have you here. Maybe before we get into your football career, tell us how it all began as a very young girl, growing up in Soweto when you first got that ball. What were your parents like? I think I may have alluded to that in the beginning, but was your family always as excited about it as they are now?
Firstly, thank you very much for having me on this platform. I really appreciate it. And to get on with my journey, I started at a very young age. I think I was about 6 years old. So when I tell the story, it always fascinates me every time how I began playing football, because the way it happened, it's something extraordinary. So every morning, my brothers, when they went for training, I would wake up with them, be curious as to why would they always be up so early in the morning? What do they get up to? So one morning, I decided to wake up with them and follow them to wherever they were going, and only to find that they were going to training, football training. And when we got to the field, I saw quite a number of players, and I was so shocked, like how people would wake up so early in the morning to come and kick a soccer ball. This must be really interesting. So when I was watching them training, I fell in love with the movements, with everything that was taking place, running after the soccer ball. And every time the ball had to go out for a throw-in or a corner kick, I'll be the first one to run after the ball to throw it back. But instead of throwing it back, I would kick it with my feet, because I saw that actually this thing is supposed to be kicked. So that's how I fell in love with the game. And my mom, initially, she was not supportive of that. And even when I started joining boys teams, she would get worried as to why would coaches come to our house to look for a girl child, whereas she has sons also who play football. So that didn't make any sense to her. But as time went on, when she realized that it's something that I love, it's something that keeps me busy also away from the streets, away from doing all sorts of things like drugs, things as hanging around with boys until late at night. I did something very useful, and also my brothers were encouraging of that.
Yeah.
So eventually they supported me, and that gave me a push to say, if I have the support from my family, then I shouldn't be worried about anything. I have to invest my time and everything to make this a success. And that's what it has been so far.
It has absolutely been a success, and I think your congratulations are certainly in order. Refiloe, you are actually paving the way for future, footballers who just happen to also be females. I guess it was interesting listening to your story, saying how your brothers used to wake up very early in the morning, and how you were just wanting to find out what they were doing at that time of the night. When you first started playing soccer, did you find that it was just, mainly with boys because the infrastructure wasn't there, or did you find that there really wasn't that much interest in terms of girls wanting to get involved?
I would say it was a situation where I didn't see any girls playing the sport. The only girls that I saw was my sister and her friends playing with dolls and playing skipping or playing some other games that I was not interested in. So when I played with the boys, I only thought that maybe it's a boys' sport, but this is the sport that I want to play. So I started joining the boys' teams until I was, I think, the age of 13, 14. That's when I started joining the girls' team after finding out that there are girls who play soccer outside. So even when I had to start with the girls, initially I was skeptical and I felt like this is not where I want to go. I just want to sit with the boys and play with the boys because it was more interesting and it was more quicker and more supportive in a way because the coaches there and the players, the boys, were really looking out for me and they always wanted me to be there. So at one point when I started joining the ladies, it was always a fight between the men's team and the ladies team because both of the teams they always wanted me to come and play for them. So what I did, I would alternate on the weekends. If I'm playing for the girls this weekend, the following weekend I would play for the boys. And until then, I reached a stage where now I had to focus playing for the ladies only and make a way into finding my ranks in the national team setup and playing for a structured team in the Sasol League.
Yeah. And tell me, who did you look up to in terms of your role models? I think both male and female. You've been in both male teams and female teams. So, who did you look up to?
When it comes to role models, at first I didn't have any female role models. I always looked up to my mom and how she made everything work. But then growing up, as I went through the ranks and realizing that there are women players out there, and I started following them, I was so much inspired by Mpumi Nyandeni, who plays in JVW at the moment. And I saw that she played overseas, and I realized that actually the ladies also can make something out of the sport. So I followed her journey. I was looking out what she's up to, and I told myself that one day I want to be like her and play overseas. And with the men, I only was into local football. I followed Lucas Radebe a lot, and I liked how he played, and even to see that eventually he went to play in leagues overseas and also was the captain of the team. That really also motivated me a lot.
Rafila, so obviously the national soccer, women's soccer team was only established in 1992, and you started playing for Banyana Banyana in 2012. Maybe talk to us about your journey as being a female soccer star athlete. I mean, what have been some of your biggest challenges in your career thus far?
The biggest challenge since the inception of the ladies game until now, it's monetary value. I think a lot of players can't make a living out of playing the sport back at home, and they always have to juggle being at workplace environments or studying. They can't just solely focus on playing football, and I think that's one of the major challenges that we face at the moment. And to add on to that, infrastructure, support services, it's something that we don't get a lot from corporate, from the media, from sponsors. And if we can get that, I think there would be so many changes in the women's game.
Mm. And I suppose maybe platforms such as these are, one way in order to let people know that this is definitely an avenue to follow. Just in terms of what keeps you motivated, I mean, you are obviously part of a team, but self motivation is also important so that you can are able to give the best of yourself to the team. So tell us a bit about that.
What keeps me motivated a lot is my background, where I come from. I come from Kliptown, where it's an informal settlement, and not many kids out there know of opportunities that are out there. I always also emphasize on representation. So I just want to be a good representative of the sport. You know, when I'm out there playing, I always remember that I'm not only playing for myself, I'm playing for the kid out there that wants to succeed in the sport or in whatever future goals they have of themselves. It doesn't matter the background that you come from. It doesn't matter your circumstances that you are facing at the moment. If you have that ultimate goal and you have that support and the hunger to achieve the dream, you can always do it. So when I play, I'm always motivated by that I'm not only playing for myself, but for a young child out there who wants to succeed in the sport. I'm also playing for my family who's been supportive of the journey. You know, if it wasn't for my family, I don't think I would be where I am. And I'm playing for the whole country. Sometimes we go through so many things as South Africans, even at the moment. So when I don the national team jersey or when I play overseas, I always tell myself that I just want to give hope and bring smiles to all the South Africans.
Rafid, I'm going to, briefly quote what the late Nelson Mandela said, because you were speaking a lot about, what keeps you motivated and the vision that you had, and what he said was that sport has the power to change the world, and it has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that anything else really does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand, and sport can create hope where there was once only despair. So I think as maybe, young athletes or people or young people just watching TV out there, they see, the end goal with the lifting of the trophy, but there's a very, there's a lot of work that goes into that. Maybe talk to us about, what some of the, the stumbling blocks or some of the things that you had to do in order to get the success of WAFCON.
Well, as a team, we've tried so many times winning the AFCON trophy, and on numerous occasions we came second. And I think we were just tired of all that. You know, when we said as a team, we looked at the journey of where we come from as a nation. We thought about the struggles other players had to go through. We know a lot of players who are now legends, they didn't have the money to succeed in the game. They didn't have the support in terms of sponsorship, in terms of media, in terms of personal endorsements. So us who are in a position where we have all that now, it's because of the hard work that other players had to go through for us to get to where we are. So when we went to the AFCON this time around, we were playing for so many things, and above everything else was to show South Africa that with the right support, with the correct investments being made into the ladies game, we can achieve so much more. We can compete against the best in the world, and that's where we aspire to be as a nation. So the success, we're hoping that it's going to change the game in South Africa. We're hoping that many players will solely live and play football out of their love and not just only for the sake of it.
Next year we have the World Cup 2023 that's taking place in New Zealand. Obviously, hopefully, or actually, we're very happy the fact that South Africa is, one of the teams that are taking place in that particular tournament. But talk to us about the journey, because again, I'm sure you've already started training for that right now. And have you seen any big changes since being able to come back as champions? Before, you were talking about the fact that you weren't getting a lot of media attention in terms of compensation being compared to maybe your male counterparts. Have you seen a difference in in maybe how the broader investment community, or maybe how sponsors are looking at you now? And I guess, what are your hopes for the 2023 World Cup?
Well, at the moment, I don't see any change in terms of sponsorship. No corporate has come on board to say we want to invest into Banyana Banyana. The only hype that we got was when we won the trophy, and everyone wanted to jump on board to celebrate with the team, which is something we are grateful for. But we also hope that it's not a one moment thing. If we can get the support that we get after winning, can that support also be stretched throughout the years, so that we can be better people, we can be better players, and we can keep on achieving so much more? Because at the moment, Sasol is the only sponsor that has been with the team over the years, and seeing that investment that they've done into Banyana Banyana, we just imagine how much more we can do if more corporates would come on board to support the team. And now going into the World Cup, we also hope that endorsements would come for individual players, endorsements would come for the whole national team as a team, and we can prepare well, because the preparations have started already. They started on the last final whistle of the final day of the AFCON. So we're hoping that we can get the support that we need in terms of monetary value, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of support services, for us to do better at the World Cup, because now we have that experience from the previous time. We now know what it takes to be at the World Cup. We know the intensity to be there. So we just have to prepare better than we prepared the last time, and we're hoping with the right support we can also bring in better results this time around.
Yeah, we certainly are hoping for that as well. Refilio, we know that you found a new home or a second home now in Italy, and we know that there's always people who may sometimes look to leave South Africa. Some of the economic challenges that we are facing, the political challenges. Maybe talk to us about what has been the biggest adjustment that you know that you've had to make, and if you would maybe consider staying in Italy, maybe full time or forever, or will your heart always be back here in South Africa?
Well, one of the major challenges that I had to adjust to when I came to Italy was the language change. In Italy, it's solely Italian. You are lucky if you find people who speak English. So having to adjust to that quickly and learn the language was one of the things that helped me a lot. And the culture is also totally opposite to what we are used to back at home. So the sooner you adjust to that, the better you become, and you are able to focus on playing. The style of play, also the tactics, the fundamentals of the game. I think when you are overseas or playing at a higher league, they are just on another level of which we don't get to experience in South Africa. And I think if we can professionalize the league in South Africa, and we can get the coaches who have gone all the way to do the last certificate or last diploma of coaching, we can produce good players. So with me being here, I get to learn a lot of how things are being done overseas as to compare to at home. And I hope that with the experience that I get, and I'm able to share it with other players, so that they can also get better. And when they go overseas, that they are not shocked that such things happen overseas. But dealing with racism, dealing with culture shock, dealing with learning the language, it's one of the few challenges that I had to encounter.
Mm. Maybe can you tell us, do you think maybe it's a change in perceptions? If you look at how maybe South Africans view the women's team versus overseas. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of people who wanting to plow into those, particular women's team, but here in South Africa, you're still trying or struggling to get that buy-in. So do you think it's definitely a perceptions thing?
Yes, I would say it's still a perception thing. It's still biased also. And if you can look at the results also, when we brought the results of the AFCON, it was also influenced by the players that we have that are playing overseas. The training that we get overseas, the level of play is way advanced compared to being at home. And if corporate SA can come and invest into the women's game back at home, we would get so much better, and we wouldn't have to export a lot of players to go overseas. We could have players playing at home, and we could improve our leagues in South Africa, in the rest of Africa. I think we have what it takes to compete against the rest of Europe as Africa. And if we can get the right investments, we can get it there.
Rafila, we've got a few moments left, but I'd like to take this opportunity to ask you because you mentioned some of your experiences in Italy and the culture shock, and that is now your second home there. Maybe tell us if you've introduced any of your teammates to any traditional South African food. Have they had a chance to maybe taste some limbis or whatever the case may be?
Not yet. My teammates, they always ask me, I think each and every week, they ask me to make a traditional South African dish. But I think the challenge is getting the ingredients because so far, I haven't seen a South African or an African shop that sells something similar to what we eat at home that's traditional. But hopefully one day I can tweak in some meal that they can enjoy.
Yeah, fantastic. Make sure to invite us when you do that as well. Do you maybe see a business opportunity there for you? Rafina, thank you so much for making the time to join us.
Thank you very much for having me. We're hoping with such conversations and such platforms going forward, a lot can be changed in our development of football in South Africa.
Oh, that was Refiloe Jane. Of course, she's the captain of Banyana Banyana, just giving us a sense of how she has been able to, live her life, how she's had to adapt, just like a lot of you have had to adapt during these very volatile times in terms of everything that's happening, both economically and politically as well. That brings us to the end of our webinar. Thank you once again for making the time to join us. It's been a fantastic 2 hours. Of course, we've looked at all various aspects of investments from the local front to international markets of a specific focus in terms of South African asset classes, and then looking at China and, of course, the role of responsible investing as well. And we took you onto the pitch to speak to our Banyana Banyana captain. Just before we go, just a reminder that we do have a QR code, and I think you know how it works by now. You take out your phone, go to the camera, and then you just hold it up onto the screen and just do one or two quick questions, because we do want to hear from you and want to continue to give you the very best of our insights. Have a fantastic day from myself and the multi-management team. Goodbye.